3 shocking times God came down to earth. What they discovered will leave you speechless. Few knew what truly happened that night. In the land of Israel, surrounded by ancient stone walls and dusty roads, there was a frenzy. It was an evening drenched in mystery. A flash. A sound that split the air, thunderous and deafening. Hearts raced as people peered into the darkened sky, wondering what could cause such chaos. Was it an eclipse? A divine visitation? No one could tell. Parched lips whispered frantic rumors. Did you see the darkness? The fire dancing on the hill? They spoke of Moses, shaking on Mount Sinai, a place where God came down with fire and smoke, reshaping the very fabric of existence. His hands held stone tablets, etched with laws that would guide humanity. Can you imagine? A deafening silence before revelation fell like a tidal wave. Each person held their breath, staring into that ominous horizon. The weight of truth clung to the air. What if God had truly walked among them? In the starlit sky above, a shiver trickled down spines. God's presence, a burning bush, never consumed, whispered hope to a shunned shepherd. Who was he? Just a man, yet he spoke to a deity. The enigma of that moment: how could one man bear the weight of divine conversation? But with miracles come dilemmas. Did God really thrive in the fire? Or was it a mere figment of imagination, a ghost slipping through the fingers of doubt? Questions swirled like the rising dust, leaving every heart pounding with fear, yet ignited with the possibility of something greater. Little did they know, another encounter awaited them. Would the same heavenly force remind humanity how fragile their faith could be? Or was it a prelude to something far more terrifying? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As darkness enveloped the land and whispers of something divine danced among the streets, a stillness fell upon the people. They sought solace in the flickers of their torches, light battling shadows that seemed to expand along the ancient stones. From the marketplace to the humble dwellings, the air was thick with an unuttered question: could they dare to engage with the divine? In the homes of the faithful, families gathered, their stories intertwined with the fabric of ancient prophecy. An elder, with hair like the silver-lined clouds, recounted tales of the prophets who walked before them. Elijah, he called down fire from heaven, did he not? He said, voice low yet resonating with authority. And there, upon Mount Carmel, the people had to choose. Whom would they follow? The living God or the idols of their hands? His words hung heavy in the air, a reminder of a choice that loomed once more. But now, in the depths of their hearts, uncertainty gnawed. What if the divine was not only a distant echo of past miracles, but something alive, uncontained? Questions spiraled as they processed the revelation of the lights and sounds from the heavens. Amongst the crowd, a young woman named Miriam felt the weight of these events more than most. The stories of her ancestors had been whispers on her lips, but tonight, they ignited a fire in her soul. She stepped outside, drawn towards the hills where the fire flickered like a beacon of otherworldly promise. Her heart raced with both fear and exhilaration. A yearning pulled her closer, an invitation to confront the heavens themselves. As she neared the foot of the hill, the air crackled with electricity. She paused, breathless, as if she stood on the precipice of a great revelation. What lay beyond the veil of the earthly? Could she truly understand the depth of God's presence? Her thoughts looped back to Moses, the shepherd who faced the burning bush. Did he tremble before seeing God? She pondered, feeling a longing to comprehend the divine ways. Suddenly, a voice echoed in the cavernous silence, Miriam. It resonated not just in her ears, but in the very fabric of her being. She looked around, but not a soul was in sight. The world stood still. Miriam, it called again, filled with weight and gentleness. The name spoken with such immense care ignited a spark within her. She felt seen, known, yet terrified of what this presence entailed. As she knelt upon the rocky ground, trembling, she realized that the same divine spark that breathed life into Moses perhaps coursed through her very veins. The questions of her people surged to the forefront of her mind. Was she worthy? What would this encounter mean? Her thoughts ricocheted in a whirlwind, trapped between the hope of divine connection and the fear of reprisal. Caught in this moment of spiritual limbo, Miriam looked up at the glowing horizon. Just as a vast expanse of stars lit the night sky, so too shone the possibility of divine acceptance, if only one could grasp its understanding. But with possibility came uncertainty. Would the answers she sought lead to enlightenment or despair? Who could promise that the light she felt was a blessing or a call to trial? As the flame flickered and shadows danced, a sudden realization swept over her. Encountering the divine often came with a profound invitation that couldn't simply be answered with words. Would she dare step into a deeper understanding that could shatter her world, yet might hold the key to something far greater? In this moment of spiritual awakening, she could not help but wonder, what remains hidden in the divine embrace that could change everything, and are we truly ready to face it? The shimmering light on the horizon pulsed in rhythm with Miriam's racing heart, laying bare the tension between fear and wonder that stirred within her. With each breath she took, the air felt thicker, imbued with the promise of revelations that had the potential to upend all she knew. The old stories echoed in her mind, a haunting chorus of belief and doubt, legends of encounters that left both the faithful and the skeptical forever changed. Moses walked away with glory upon his face, she murmured, trying to anchor herself in familiar ground. But what if the price of seeing God is beyond understanding, even beyond this trembling heart? The silence, charged with an ancient energy, answered her not with words but with a deeper a sense of belonging that called her forward. Compelled by a force she could not name, Miriam rose to her feet, shuffling closer to the glow that had drawn her for so long. Each step felt monumental, as if she was tearing through a veil of inevitability. She longed to understand the echoes of divine footsteps that brushed against the earth, leaving traces of light where shadows had danced before. The path ahead seemed fraught with uncertainty, a sacred road shared by the unworthy and the bold alike. Suddenly, the light intensified, and once again, the voice called her name, Miriam. This time, it wrapped around her like a warm cloak, dissolving the remnants of her trepidation. Come forth. It was not a command but an invitation, a gentle urging to step into a greater narrative, one that tied her not only to her people but to the very essence of creation. What do you wish of me? She whispered, uncertain if the question would allow her to reclaim the steadiness that had begun to dissolve in the light of divine engagement. Will you carry the light? The voice echoed, and as it did, the flame sizzled through the air, casting silhouettes of angels among the ancient trees that sheltered the hill. Miriam felt pulled, as if the roots of her existence were entwining with something that had no name, yet spoke directly to her spirit. She glanced back towards her village, envisioning her family, their hopes, questions, and fears mirroring her own. In that moment, clarity broke like dawn. To carry the light meant to embrace the uncertainty, the burden, and the beauty of being sacred and mundane all at once. I want to learn, she called into the glowing embrace. But I do not understand how. With each heartbeat, the ethereal glow shifted, revealing the silhouettes of those who had come before her, figures of fire and smoke, prophets who had danced on the edge of the divine and earthly realms. The path is fraught with trials, yet each step will color your vision of the world, came the reply, entwined with the sighing of the wind. Seek not the answer, seek the question that ignites the flame. Confusion mingled with yearning as she grappled with the challenge before her. The weight of her people's expectation pressed down like the evening dew. The very earth seemed to embrace her in a gentle urging to take her place among those who had answered the call before her. Would she find solace in question or fear the ambiguity of its echo? As the luminous dance painted the night sky, Miriam's resolve began to crystallize into purpose. Deep within her, a difficult truth emerged. The act of reaching into the divine meant embracing the not knowing, that sacred space where faith began and reason faltered. In this liminal moment, she could not help but wonder, what questions must we hold, unafraid, to understand the deeper truths of the divine, and how might they transform our very souls? The air shimmered with expectation as Miriam stood transfixed in the luminous glow. The embrace of the light enveloped her deeper than she thought possible, unraveling her fears and opening her heart to the whispers of the universe. What do I seek? She pondered, questioning the very essence of her existence. This journey promised more than revelation, it hinted at transformation. Will you embrace your brothers and sisters with the light? The voice resonated, calm yet filled with an urgency that reverberated within her. Miriam hesitated, her thoughts drifting back to the village, to her people with their daily struggles, their fears, and their hopes. Would she emerge as a beacon among them, or would bringing the divine's essence fracture their already delicate balance? As if sensing her turmoil, the silhouettes began to move. One stepped forward, a figure that shimmered with a soft glow. It was the form of an elder, a familiar face from her memories. "Miriam," he said, voice as warm as the sun, "I knew you would come. But know this, carrying the light means illuminating the shadows, both within yourself and in those around you. But what if the light reveals things I cannot bear?" She asked, her voice trembling. "What of the darkness that hides within us all?" The elder smiled gently. "It is not our darkness that defines us, it is our willingness to acknowledge it. Only through accepting our shadows can we fully embrace the light. The challenge is to weave them together." Miriam contemplated his words, the essence of his presence serving as a bridge between her fears and her desires. Could she really be a vessel, a guide, among a people struggling with their own uncertainties? Who would dare to approach their deep-seated fears, especially when the world felt laden with trials? As the light pulsated anew, Miriam was reminded of her childhood stories, the tales of courage that ignited her spirit, inspiring her to walk alongside her brothers and sisters in times of despair. "I want to be that light," she murmured, unabashedly voicing her commitment. "But how will I carry it?" "Start with love," the elder replied, gesturing toward the silhouettes of her ancestors who shimmered in approving unity. "Take the light into your heart and let it guide your steps. Share your discoveries, for they will light the midnight sky of others' desolation." With a consuming fire igniting her spirit, Miriam felt the enormity of the task before her, how much responsibility rested upon her shoulders. What if she faltered? What if the light flickered, dimmed? Would her people resent her for offering a glimmer of hope amidst their entrenched darkness? The voice returned, echoing with resonance that transcended her doubts. "Miriam, the weight of knowing is part of your journey. To walk this path is to grapple with uncertainty. Ask questions and embrace the journey as it unfolds. This is the essence of faith." She looked down the path leading back to her village, a tapestry of interwoven lives beckoning her. "And what if my questions lead to pain?" she whispered, grappling with the paradox of discovery. "Pain and enlightenment are often intertwined," the elder's voice soothed. "What you illuminate and face bravely will help create a legacy of understanding and hope. Trust that each question you ponder will lead you closer to souls yearning for connection." With this insight, a new clarity flickered within her. If the light was to be shared, it must be done with the heart open and accepting, an offering not just of answers but of questions that invited others into the dance of divine inquiry. And in this cycle of illumination, the expansiveness of faith would beckon forth those sentiments that lay dormant and unseen. And so, a powerful curiosity stirred within Miriam. What unasked questions must rise to the surface in our hearts, and how might they foster connection and healing for a community yearning for light in their shadows? As the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, casting a rosy hue over the village, Miriam felt a stirring within her, awakening an urge to return. Yet the light, vibrant within her core, seemed to speak of a deeper purpose, urging her to linger just a moment longer. The elder's presence shone brightly, a pulse of ancient wisdom wrapped in the glow of celestial light. "Before you step into the fray of your life, seek the heartbeats of your people. Each pulse tells a story waiting to be heard." His voice, infused with timeless authority, compelled her to listen to more than just words. "But how?" Miriam implored, her spirit brimming with emotion. "How do I open their hearts when mine quakes at the thought of what lies hidden within?" "Listen," came the simple reply. The first act of love is to listen. Only through hearing can understanding blossom. Miriam yearned to believe, her heart warmed with a flickering glow of hope. The visions of her village echoed in her mind, people busy in their routines, tending to fields, caring for families, yet bound by unspoken fears and hidden burdens. She remembered her mother's sigh, heavy with dreams deferred, and the gaze of her brother, always masking his struggles with laughter. Would she be able to guide them through their darkness? Could her journey through illumination truly bridge the silence that imprisoned them all? The thought filled her with both determination and trepidation. Recall the stories of light shared through generations, the elder encouraged, gesturing toward the silhouettes. Each piece of wisdom is a star in the night sky of your heritage. Embrace them as you embrace the people. With a renewed sense of purpose, Miriam felt the path ahead brighten. But as she prepared for her return, a thread of doubt lingered. What if the tales that inspired her were met with skepticism? What if the light she bore was too blinding for some, more disorienting than illuminating? As she stood at the threshold of her journey back, the elder's glow pulsed softly, enveloping her in warmth. There will be shadows, but shadows exist only because of light. Remember, not everyone will embrace the light at once, and that is part of the tapestry. Will you weave your threads beside those who fear? Miriam considered this profoundly. It was not just about her transformation, but theirs as well, a collective awakening that demanded patience and courage. It required faith not only in the journey but in herself and in the divine plan that awaited all. With a deep breath, she turned her gaze toward the village. This place she called home, filled with raw emotions and hidden sorrows, awaited her next step. Was she ready to unravel her own uncertainties so that she could weave compassion and understanding into the fabric of their lives? As she walked down the path, a question danced through her thoughts, vibrant and unshakable. What if the greatest light is born not just from within, but emerges from the willingness to stand alongside others, revealing the shadows in compassion, and daring to journey together into the unknown? As Miriam approached the village, the aroma of freshly baked bread and earth-touched crops wafted through the air, intertwining with her anticipation and worry. The familiar paths and the vibrant chatter of children drew her closer, yet a quiet tremor pulsated beneath her confidence. She had felt the call to return, but the weight of expectation loomed large as shadows lingered along the edges of her heart. The elders had gathered in the main square, their voices carrying the weight of years upon years of wisdom, but there was a tilting unease in their discourse that she sensed immediately. They spoke in measured tones of recent omens and sudden storms that had tossed waves against the shores of their small fishing community. Doubts and fears echoed between them, casting a gloomy pall over the bright day. Miriam hesitated at the edge of the square, observing threads of anxiety weaving amongst her people. She felt that same quelling energy returning like the crows that circled ominously, casting shadows where light ought to prevail. In that moment, she reminded herself of the elder's words, "Listen." Swallowing hard, she stepped forward. "Why do you gather under the weight of despair?" her voice rang out, both gentle and firm. The villagers turned, their faces a tapestry of weariness, curiosity, and guarded hope. In that exchange of glances, Miriam felt the shared pulse of their unspoken fears. "What burdens your hearts?" An elderly woman, her hands rough and gnarled like the roots of an ancient tree, stepped into the light. "There are tales of a great famine," she began, her voice trembling. "Rumors of drought that may spare no harvest we fear for our children and their children. Our dreams of abundance slip like sand through our fingers." Miriam's heart ached at her words, feeling the weight of a collective sorrow that had simmered beneath the surface. "We have faced storms before," Miriam replied, trying to stir the embers of resilience. "Remember the stories of our foremothers and fathers. When locusts devoured our crops, we found strength through unity and shared hope. Together we restored our land, nurturing it back to green." The villagers shifted, uncertainty etched on their brows. Would memories of shared triumphs be enough to lift the shadows threatening their hearts? Was her voice strong enough to pierce through the heaviness of their burdens? Yet, Miriam continued, allowing a moment for her words to settle. "We can no longer rely solely on the tales of the past. We must forge a path forward, even through uncertainty. The earth, like our spirits, demands tending. Each seed we sow in hope can overcome fear. A silence enveloped the square, pregnant with possibilities. The older woman met Miriam's gaze, her eyes alight with a flicker of recognition. But how, child? When the rain seemed to forget our land, at that, Miriam recalled the sacred stories she had heard, of faith as small as a mustard seed, the persistent faith that led to miraculous outcomes. Let us gather in the fields, lift our voices in prayer, and nurture our community, she urged. Where despair walks, let joy follow. Moved by her zeal, a man from the edges of the crowd stepped forward. And if our prayers go unanswered? How can we muster courage to believe? Miriam looked upon them, understanding how deeply struck by the specter of doubt they were. We will not only pray for rain, she declared, her voice buoyed by her own conviction. We will work as if the rains will come, sowing seeds together, sharing meals, lifting each other's burdens. In our unity lies the promise of the divine. The sun glimmered brightly as murmurs of hope began to ripple through the crowd, igniting a fragile but growing determination. Yet as excitement flickered like a candle's flame, Miriam felt an undercurrent of disquiet tugging at her spirit. What if the storm did come, not in the form of rain, but in the trials laid bare by their actions? Would their voices, united in purpose, be strong enough to weather the tempest? As she stood amongst her people, a newfound resolve flickered within her. Yet she couldn't shake the ache of uncertainty. Would the light she sought to bring forth dispel the shadow large enough to encompass them all? The question lingered, drawing Miriam into depths of reflection. What if the act of stepping forward in faith was the beginning of a transformation meant to challenge both the heart and the horizon? The days unfolded like the petals of a hesitant flower, each dawn coaxing the villagers to action but shadowed by worry of what lay ahead. Miriam led them into the fields, where the earth, much like their souls, awaited the touch of hope. Side by side, they planted seeds, their hands brushing against the soil that had nourished them for generations. With every seed buried, they whispered prayer, fragments of faith woven into the very fabric of the earth they hoped would yield a harvest. As days stretched into weeks, Miriam marveled at the steadfastness of her people. Their laughter filled the air like a sweet melody, tempered by hard labor and shared meals in the evenings. Yet, within her, unease flickered stubbornly. What lay beneath this newfound sense of purpose? Was it truly faith, or merely the distraction they had conjured to keep despair at bay? One evening, as twilight draped the sky in shades of purple and gold, Miriam felt a pull deeper than the chorus of crickets. She wandered to the edge of the village, where the path faded into the shadows of the encroaching woods. There, the faint murmur of life danced on the breezy, a hollow laugh, a whisper, an echo of something ancient. It beckoned her, teasing at the edges of her understanding. Miriam stepped cautiously into the dim light of the woods. The trees stood tall, guardians of secrets and sanctuaries of the spirit. Was there something in the whispers that sought to impart wisdom? As she ventured further, she found herself in a clearing where the full moon hung low, casting a silver luminescence over everything. As she stood there, heart poised between fear and awe, a figure emerged from the shadows. Cloaked in a robe that shimmered like the night sky, the being regarded her with eyes that seemed to hold the weight of countless stars. In that moment, a hush enveloped the world, as if the very air itself held its breath. Miriam, the voice resonated, rich and layered like the oldest of tales. Why do you carry this doubt? The question rolled over her, entangling her thoughts like ivy creeping up ancient walls. I fear that our efforts may be in vain, she confessed. What if the rains do not come? What if our unity is not enough? The figure smiled, and with a wave of its hand, the surrounding air shimmered with images, visions of her people dancing in joy, of children laughing, of bounty overflowing. Do you not see? Faith is not solely in the outcome but in the steps taken toward one another, in the courage to bind hearts in unity. Miriam felt a strange warmth, the flicker of understanding igniting within her. But the storms of doubt are fierce, and I fear they may drown our resolve. The storms are but a way of life, the figure replied gently. They coax the roots deeper into the earth, drawing strength from darkness. Do not shy away from the trials, for they are what shape the essence of your spirit. With a single, deliberate motion, the figure reached out and touched the soil at her feet. In an instant, Miriam's vision expanded. She saw threads connecting her community, weaving through time and space, binding their hearts to one another and to the earth itself. Each struggle they faced was part of a tapestry greater than themselves. With a deep breath, she understood. We are not alone in our labor, she realized, burgeoning hope flickering within her, but woven into something divine. The figure nodded with a kindness that embraced her fears. Remember, Miriam, the greatest harvest is not merely of grain but of love, trust, and resilience forged in the fire of trial. Step back into your community, and let the nearness of your spirit guide them. As the figure melted away like mist under the morning sun, Miriam returned to the village with a heart nourished by new revelations. Though clouds gathered on the horizon, threatening their fragile hopes with rain or drought, she felt a deep-rooted calm bloom within her. Yet she still pondered, was the promise of abundance dependent on the whims of fate, or do we possess a power far greater within one that could change the very course of their lives? How could she rally her people to grasp this vision, to challenge the storm before it could take root in their hearts? And was the divine whisper she felt truly the presence of something much larger, urging her onward? As the dawn unfurled its golden fingers over the village, Miriam felt an electric tension in the air, a reminder of the quiet promise made in the woods. The villagers gathered, their faces reflecting a spectrum of hope and worry, and she wondered how to share the luminous understanding that now resided in her heart. Brothers and sisters, she began, her voice steady, we have labored hard, sowing seeds into the soil, but we must also nurture the seeds of unity and faith within us. The storms may come, but they will not dissolve our spirit. Her words washed over the villagers like cool rain on thirsty ground, and though some listened intently, others appeared skeptical. Miriam sensed the lingering doubts, buried like rocks among flourishing roots. Could her soul's awakening resound amongst the struggles of such weary hearts? As dawn turned to day, a traveler appeared at the edge of the villa, a ragged man, his hair tangled with leaves and dirt. Miriam felt the gathering curiosity of the villagers coalesce, and when he approached, it was evident he carried a heaviness unlike their own. His eyes, dark and hollow, shone with an unspoken tale. What brings you to our humble village? Miriam asked, her voice full of warmth and inquiry. The man hesitated, as if weighing the balance between sharing and shielding. I seek refuge from the anguish I endure, he finally said, his voice trembling like the branches of a storm-stricken tree. I have roamed for days, burdened by longing and despair, searching for something I cannot name. Miriam felt an unsettling kinship with him, his burden echoed the silent fears she had been wrestling with. You are welcome here, she offered, motioning for him to join them. We are a community that seeks to uplift one another, even in our trials. As he settled among them, the villagers circled closer, each drawn by curiosity or shared sorrow. In their midst, Miriam saw the flickers of hesitance ebb slightly. The man's presence ignited something within them. She felt the importance of this union in their shared humanity. How do you endure your anguish? Miriam asked the traveler, genuinely curious. How do you overcome the storms of despair that threaten to consume you? His gaze sharpened, revealing a mere edge of the depth of his suffering. I have learned to find stillness in the tempest. There are moments, fleeting yet radiant, when I feel the presence of something divine, urging me to carry on. Miriam considered that insight, recognizing the resonance within her heart. Perhaps that is the secret we all seek, she replied thoughtfully. In stillness, we can hear the whispers of hope and strength. The crowd began to murmur, each contemplating his words. In sharing his struggle, the traveler inadvertently drew them closer to one another, binding their fears with threads of recognition and understanding. In their vulnerability, they began to cultivate a fragile yet growing acceptance of the unknown. Yet, as the sun climbed higher, shadows still danced at the edges of their souls, and Miriam sensed an unyielding question lingering amidst their discourse. Should we embrace this understanding of stillness, even in the face of uncertain storms that threaten our harvest? Can we truly bridge the chasm between our fears and our faith? The man offered a slight smile, but it was veiled with longing. Perhaps the answer lies not in protection from storms, but in the gift of community, the bravery to share our burdens and face them together. Inspired, Miriam turned to her people, their eyes a kaleidoscope of fear and hope intertwined. Let us forge a bond that will not only help us withstand the coming storms but will also allow us to celebrate the beauty of our struggles. We are woven into a fabric of faith, and through each other, we may find the resilience to unlock what lies before us. As the villagers exchanged nods and murmurs of agreement, Miriam felt the atmosphere shift. The weight of doubt was lifted ever so slightly. Yet uncertainty lingered in the backdrop, nudging at her thoughts. Were they truly prepared to face the storms, both internal and external, that would inevitably challenge their unity? And within the tender threads of their connection, would they uncover the divine essence woven through their efforts, or would they falter beneath the burden of hope, longing for an answer that seemed just beyond their grasp? As the day unfurled, the air shimmered with an inexplicable energy, inviting the village to engage with both the traveler and the quiet revelation sparking within their hearts. Miriam observed her fellow villagers, their faces painted with reflections of countless emotions, and felt a stir of courage igniting within her. Let us extend this conversation, she proposed, for the winds of change beckon us. The villagers, encouraged by her resolve, gathered closer, forming a circle of intimacy that welcomed not only the traveler but also their own fears and dreams. It was an ode to their collective spirit, and Miriam sensed the air crackle with possibility as they prepared to share their stories. One by one, voices began to rise, hesitant yet determined. An elder named Eli spoke first, his voice deep and resonant. In my younger days, I faced a storm that threatened to rip apart my very spirit. I sought the treasures of this world, the praises of men, but ultimately discovered that fulfillment lies not in the accolades, but in the quiet moments of togetherness. His words wove an invisible thread through the group, binding them closer, each shared experience a delicate stitch in their communal tapestry. A woman named Leah, tears glistening in her eyes, recounted how grief had engulfed her when she lost her child to illness. I wandered the wilderness of sorrow with no compass. It was only when I spoke my pain to a friend that I felt the weight lift, just a little. In sharing, we honored her memory, and the vivid colors of love seeped back into my life. The traveler listened raptly, his eyes glistening with understanding and empathy. Each story felt like a sacred echo, unearthing paths of healing they had long hidden under the soil of their lives. As narratives unfolded, Miriam marveled at the resilience blooming amidst the shared darkness. In vulnerability, they found hope, and in their collective stories, she sensed the beginning of something profoundly transformative. But even amidst the warmth of their confession, Miriam couldn't shake the feeling that the essence of their gathering was signaling a deeper truth, as the shadows of doubt still loomed. Are we truly capable of embracing one another's burdens? She questioned aloud, the weight of her inquiry hanging in the air as silence enveloped them. Can we truly transform our scars into symbols of strength? She continued, glancing at the traveler. Or are we merely comforting ourselves with words? The traveler shifted slightly, his pained eyes revealing the depth of his insight. The answer is born in the choices we make daily. It is easy to share in joy, it is striving that defines our community. Will we lean toward each other when the storms howl, or pull away into solitude? A shadow of uncertainty passed over the group. Their prior confidence began to falter under the gravity of his words. Miriam felt the tremor of apprehension ripple through them, as if the earth itself was unsure how to respond. Ella's voice broke the stillness, resolute and steady. We must create more than just a safe harbor, we must become each other's lighthouse, guiding through the darkness. But we must also prepare ourselves, for together we are stronger, yet the storms will still test our bonds. As murmurs washed over the crowd, it became evident that the answer to Miriam's question lay intertwined with their willingness to face the unknown together. It lingered like an unseen thread, binding them as they ventured into the realms of faith and community. Yet, with the sun dipping low on the horizon, the promise of evening's shadow hinted at challenges they had yet to confront. Seeds of unity had been sown, but would those roots hold firm when the fiercest winds descended upon them? And so, as Miriam looked into the faces of her people, each a flickering flame of potential and fear, one question echoed in her heart: could they truly perceive the divine in each struggle, or would they falter beneath the weight of hope when the darkness crept in? As the final vestiges of sunlight faded from the sky, wrapping the village in twilight's embrace, a palpable tension filled the air. Miriam stood in the center, flanked by her fellow villagers and the traveler whose presence ignited a spark within their hearts. In the midst of their gathering, she could feel the simmering potential of transformation, yet uncertainty clung like dew upon the grass. "Tonight, we stand at a crossroads," Miriam declared, her voice thrumming with fervor. "Each of us carries burdens unseen, as well as dreams aching to be birthed. We have spoken of unity, shared our fears, and woven our stories together, but now we must collectively decide, will we step boldly into the unknown, allowing the shadows to guide our light, or will we retreat back into silence?" The crowd hung silent, captivated by the weight of her words. In this moment, Miriam felt the stirring of the divine, emboldening her spirit to act in faith, addressing not only her own uncertainties but that of her people. "Look around. Each face, every story shared here tonight, is part of a greater narrativian invitation to hold fast to hope, even when darkness looms," she implored, her heart racing. "Let us not merely endure the storms of life, but unite to dance in the rain. Yes, we may bend, yet together we can grow as resilient trees, rooted deeper than the tempests can reach." A murmur raced through the villagers, fueled by inspiration but also laced with trepidation. Miriam took a breath, sensing that this was her moment, a threshold where words could either solidify into conviction or slip away into the shadows of doubt. "Remember the stories of triumph amidst trials we have shared," she continued, imagery flaring to life within her mind and spilling forth into the pulsating evening air. "The tales of our ancestors who faced famines, plagues, and uncertainties with unwavering faith. Have they not taught us that the very act of reaching out, of standing together in the face of adversity, can be a miracle in itself?" As her voice crescendoed, the doubts within them began to shift, transformed by a burgeoning courage. The traveler nodded, eyes flickering with understanding. "Indeed, it is the questions we dare to voice that illuminate the path forward. When faith pushes against despair, we breathe life into the very fabric of community." Miriam's heart soared, she could feel the swell of connection rippling among her people as they exchanged glances, nodding slowly, the embers of their collective faith growing brightly. "Let us choose to hold each other up, to carry the light forward together," she proclaimed, the fire in her spirit igniting among them. Then, an unexpected wave of wind rustled through the clearing, carrying the cool scent of earth and promise. The villagers collectively turned their gaze toward the distant mountains, where dark clouds gathered ominously, the very storm they feared. Yet instead of retreating into dread, something began to shift within their hearts. "See there?" Miriam gestured, eyes sparkling with newfound clarity. "Those clouds do not simply herald ruin, they promise the rains that will nourish our fields. What if the storms we dread are the very catalyst for our transformation? Just as our roots must be challenged to deepen, so too must our spirits be tested." A palpable energy filled the air, igniting a courageous resolve that pulsed through the hearts of her people. One by one, they began to share their hopes and fears aloud, raising questions that served both as an act of surrender and a willingness to confront whatever lay ahead. The elderly woman from the market raised her voice. "What if we each share our stories even in the heart of the storm? Perhaps through our vulnerabilities, we may discover strength we never knew existed." "That is it," Miriam cried, her soul reverberating with the truth of their deepening connection. "In sharing our struggles, we light the way for one another. We become vessels, directing the storm's chaos into a chorus of resilience." As murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd, the traveler stepped forward, his voice steady and clear. "Let us gather in the fields tomorrow at dawn to face whatever comes together. If we weather the storm with hearts open, sharing laughter and fears, we will witness the birth of something remarkable." Miriam felt the fervor swell through their midst, a divine current invigorating their spirits as they rallied around the traveler's words. They began to set plans for the dawn, offering hands, sharing sustenance, and vowing to stand side by side as one unified heart. In the assembling of their collective spirit, a fundamental shift erupted, unfurling the possibility that their unity was indeed a sacred flame capable of illuminating the darkest paths. As the crowd began to disperse, Miriam stole a moment of quiet with her thoughts, wrestling with the overwhelming questions of authenticity that lingered in her own heart. Would she truly embody the faith she called forth? Could she be a beacon amongst her people, guiding them through shadows that touched even her own soul? In this silent reverie, she recalled the words of the elder and the healing presence of the figure from the woods. Each moment of uncertainty was a prelude to profound understanding. And with that realization, a gentle wave of peace washed over her spirit. As the first hints of dawn began to emerge, transforming the horizon into a canvas of violet and gold, Miriam felt a compelling sense of purpose ignite within her, a divine assurance that she did not walk this path alone. She whispered a prayer, grateful for the shared journey ahead. "May we embrace each other's light and shadows," she said softly into the rising sun, "and let love guide our every step." And so, as day broke over the village once more, with clouds gathering not just as a warning but as a promise, the heart of the community interwove with the vibrant threads of faith, hope, and resilience. They were poised to meet the storms with open arms, trusting that within the dance of light and dark, they would find the miracles hidden in the moments of their shared humanity. For in the end, it was clear, it is not in the absence of challenges that true faith is revealed, but rather in the willingness to confront them, united in purpose. And through the delicate intertwining of hearts that even the fiercest storm can cultivate the greatest harvest, a testament to the unyielding spirit of togetherness in the face of all that life presents.